Hello friends, Scott from Platte River Keto. If you're new to my channel, welcome. On my channel, you get to come along for the ride on my keto journey. I check in with you once a week to update you on my keto progress and try to check in with you at least one other time during the week. Usually to share something that I've discovered about the ketogenic lifestyle, but occasionally just to share a little something that I've discovered about this journey that we call life. Today is Wednesday, which means it's a day where I'm just checking in with you, sharing a little something that I've discovered about this little journey that we call life. I wanted to check in with you today to share a couple things that I have learned this week, some things that I've been thinking about, and then I had a question for you and wanted to talk a little bit more about the question I'm going to ask. So I wanted to start off with sharing a little bit about the beginning of my week. Beginning of this week, this time of year actually is probably not, we're not the only family who has it this way, but this time of the year, things are pretty crazy busy. It's the month of May. I think that who is it? The Holderness family calls it Maycember because it's a lot like December in all the things that we're doing and all the things that are going on. It's a pretty crazy month, and that's true for our family as well. My wife is a school teacher, which means that it's about the end of the work year for her. Also, of course, my kids are in school. My son's a junior in high school. My daughter's in 8th grade. So this week was end of year music concerts. And my son had a music concert on Monday, and my daughter had one on Tuesday, which was yesterday. And of course, today is youth night. So it's been very busy. And those of you who've been following along on my journey know that I've been trying to get walks in every day. And as I was at work on Monday, I was sitting there thinking to myself that I was going to get home from work, and my wife and I actually made dinner together. But I knew that by the time that was done, I didn't know when I was going to get my walk in because I knew that my son's end of year music concert, it was a combined band, choir, and orchestra concert. It started at 7:30, and I knew and was correct in that it didn't get over till after 9:30. So by the time it was over, it was going to be really hard to get my normal walk in. So I decided to walk to the high school for the concert. Now, the high school is about a mile from my house, and I knew that. And I know that I can walk a mile in just over 15 minutes. So I knew what time I had to leave, and of course we got there early like we usually do. But I share that with you. I walked there and walked to the concert, actually walked with my wife, enjoyed the concert, and then walked home. The reason that I share that story with you is because I was thinking about the fact that as we are on this keto journey, we have the opportunity to either make plans to make things work, or we can make excuses to make things not work. Now, before I get up on my moral high horse and tell you about how I always make plans to make things work, I definitely don't. I'm saying this to myself as much as I'm trying to share this advice with any of you. Because many times in my life I have made excuses rather than making plans. But it would have been very easy for me this week to make the excuse that, we're really busy on Monday. So, I got my yoga workout in Monday morning. Even though I've been wanting to get walks in, it's okay. I didn't get my walk in. It's easy to make that excuse instead of making a plan, which was, hey, I'm not going to have time to do my normal walk. Why don't I go ahead and just walk to the concert and walk home from the concert? And I managed to get my walk in. Same thing actually happened today. Today is our youth activities at our church. And I once again knew that by the time we had dinner and everything, I may or may not have been able to have time afterwards to get a walk in. And it actually turns out to be correct. You might hear in the background, the wind is really starting to howl, and I think we're going to get a thunderstorm this evening. So I'm grateful that, again, I decided to walk to our church for our youth activities that I'm one of the leaders for. And again, it's about a mile to our church. It's funny, it's a mile the opposite direction from where the high school is. But it's about a mile there, so I walked there, had the activity, and walked a mile home. Felt like I got an extra good workout on the mile walk home because it had started to get very windy, and it was mostly into the wind. But my whole point in sharing those stories with you is that as we are on our keto journey, not just from an exercise perspective, I think that getting movement in is important, and I think the reason that many of us are on this keto journey is to be able to do the things that we want to do, and I think that exercise or movement is a big part of that. But regardless of what part of our keto journey we're thinking about, we can either make plans or we can make excuses. And if we really take a second to think about our day, our week, our month, however far out you want to plan, it's pretty easy to make a plan rather than waiting and making an excuse. So that's just some food for thought. Now, that actually leads me into my second thing that I wanted to talk with you guys about today. And that was, first I wanted to ask a question. It's about time for our seniors to graduate from high school here. Graduation is this coming Saturday. Now, a question that I wanted to ask, because my wife is from Utah and I'm from Nebraska, and here in Nebraska, when associated with high school graduation are graduation parties. It's a big thing. Like, everybody has them. And what I mean by a graduation party is that each of the kids, or most of the kids, I should say, and some of them do it in groups of like 2 or 3 or whatever, but they have they're basically the equivalent of an open house. Some are going to have it on graduation day, some the day after, some have had it this past weekend. But it's basically kind of an open house. You go, you take a little gift or a gift card or something like that, and you have cookies and punch and that sort of thing. And yeah, that's really commonplace here. Like, everybody does it. I asked my wife about her experience in Utah, and she says that like nobody does it. So I want you guys to chime in the comments and let me know if where you live, do the high school kids have a graduation party associated with graduating high school? I'm really curious, because some people lead me to believe that it's just a Nebraska thing. Other people say it's just a Midwest thing. So let me know where you're from, where you live, and if they have graduation parties where you live, because I'm curious. But we do have them here, which kind of leads me into my second little thing that I wanted to talk with you guys about, which is, I know I've already been to a few graduation parties. There were a couple this past weekend, but I know that this weekend, my wife is a high school teacher, and a pretty popular high school teacher. And she also has a, I don't even know what you'd call it, but she always goes to graduation parties if she's invited, basically. So every graduation party that she gets an invitation to, we're going to stop in. Which means that this weekend, we're going to go to about 20 graduation parties. And there's probably going to be cake and punch and cookies and all kinds of stuff at most of these parties. Saturday, which is graduation day, we are literally going to be at graduation parties all day long. Now, why do I mention that? I mention that because I have to have a plan. Because sometimes when we go to these graduation parties, there's some food that I can eat. A lot of times, I think a really popular thing last year, we'll see if it's popular this year, was like a walking taco, which is where they would like give you a bag of Fritos or something. You can put other things in it so that you don't have to have a bowl necessarily, but you can eat a taco. Now, most of the time they would provide plates and that sort of thing in addition to the little bag of chips. The good news for me was that like everything was apart, so I could have just the meat, just the taco meat and just the cheese, and maybe I'd throw some lettuce in there if I was really feeling it. But long story short, sometimes I could actually eat at these parties. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of times I can't eat anything at these parties. It's just cupcakes or just cookies, or there was like a pancake bar at one. And anyway, long story short, we're going to be at a lot of these parties, and there's going to be a lot of food that is not for me. And so I am definitely going to be planning ahead. This past weekend, I knew that there were only a couple of parties that I was going to go to, so I made sure that I had eaten before we went. And as a matter of fact, for the party on Sunday, I knew these were some pretty good friends of ours, so I knew that we were going to spend a lot of time at this party. And so in addition to having a meal before we left, I actually made James and Emily from Ready Set Keto their blueberry muffin top cookies, because I wanted a little something sweet, kind of a treat for me, so to speak, but I knew I wasn't going to be eating the treats that were going to be at the graduation party. And again, I knew we were going to be there for a while, so we made those beforehand. I popped a couple of those in my mouth before we left and got that little sweet treat that I wanted. So then when we were actually at the party, they had some breakfast sausage there, in addition to a pancake bar and all kinds of other goodies. I had some water and I had some pork sausage. But anyway, I talk about all this to say that I'm making sure that I have a plan this weekend. I'm going to eat before we go to these parties, because I don't know what's going to be there. I don't know what's going to be available for me, what's going to be good food for me. But just thought about that so that you guys can think about that same thing. I know that we usually, talk about this kind of at the holiday season, during the holidays, when we're talking about those Christmas parties that we're going to go to, that kind of thing. But it's also true for other holidays. There are a lot of holidays that revolve around food. It seems like all the holidays revolve around food. Memorial Day is coming up, right? The good news about Memorial Day is it seems to be all about barbecues, and barbecue can often be a thing that we can enjoy. However, we definitely need to plan ahead, right? We need to know what's going to be there. Is it going to be only, barbecue food that's drowning in sugar-filled barbecue sauce? So that's my thought for today. My food for thought for you guys is just we can either make plans or make excuses. That's the thought that I wanted to leave you with. So drop into the comments and let me know whether or not you guys have graduation parties where you live. Keep calm and keto on, and we will check in with you on Saturday.